Hey guys, Mr. Yisley here. So we're on to lesson number 7 in chapter 2b, all about solving linear inequalities. And so in lesson number 7 and lesson number 8, we're going to talk specifically about how to solve an inequality when using multiplication or division. So our process is going to be really similar to what we've been doing when we solved linear equations or when we talked about solving linear inequalities using addition or subtraction. There is one specific thing though that is different, and we'll talk about that here in a second, so make sure you're paying attention. So really 4 steps to this when solving an inequality using multiplication or division. First thing we do, and sorry this says 3 steps, but there's really 4, so I have a typo here. So 4 steps. All right, approach. First thing we need to do, as before, we're going to find our variable, all right, figure out what is being done to it. All right, that's the same as before. Right? After that, we're going to then reverse that operation. So if it's being multiplied, we're going to divide. Right? If it's being divided, we're going to multiply it. Right? And then we've talked about this using the to-do to undo lists. Right? Step 3 is where it changes just a little bit, because when we solve an inequality using multiplication or division, there is one little thing that happens that's a little bit different, and it happens when we multiply or divide by a negative number, all right? When we multiply or divide by a negative number, right, we actually have to reverse the inequality symbol, all right? If multiplying or dividing by a negative number, all right? So if the number that we're going to have to multiply or divide by is negative, then that reverses the inequality symbol. And so this is the one step that is different than what you've had to do before when solving linear inequalities. So we have to pay attention to when we're multiplying or dividing, is that number positive or is it negative? Because if it's positive, the inequality stays the same, the symbol stays the same. But if it is negative, the inequality symbol reverses in the opposite direction. And then 4th step, we go in and we actually solve the inequality with our goal always get variable on one side of the inequality symbol and number on the other. So they should still end up looking the same, where we have x and then or whatever variable it is, the inequality symbol, and then the number. And then, of course, as we did before, we're going to graph our solutions as well. So let's take a look at some multiplication examples here then. So example A says 2 is less than y over negative 3. Well, remember that when it's over, a fraction really means division. So they're actually dividing y by the number negative 3. Right? So when we go to solve this, we need to figure out, all right, where's our variable? Well, here it is on the right side of the inequality symbol, which is completely fine, that's allowed. What's happening to it? Well, it's being divided by negative 3. So if I came over here to make my to-do to undo list, I would say, hey, they were dividing it by negative 3. Well, my step to solve that, I need to use the inverse operation of division, which is multiplication, and I'm going to multiply by the same number they were dividing by, which was negative 3. So there is my step to solve. I need to multiply by negative 3 on both sides of the inequality. So I'm going to go ahead and write that out. So I'm going to multiply this side by negative 3, and I'm going to multiply this side by negative 3. Now, when I multiply this side, because it's also being divided by the same number, it's being multiplied by negative 3 and then divided by negative 3, that just causes these to cancel out, which is the exact same thing we saw happen when we did that in linear equations, right? Those cancel each other out. And on the right side of this, all I'm left with is the y. Now, because I multiplied by negative 3, that tells me this inequality symbol is going to flip around. So I need to flip my inequality symbol to face the other direction. So it was a less than sign. It is now a greater than sign. And then last part, we need to multiply these. So I've got negative 3 times 2. Well, let's start with the numbers. 3 times 2 is 6. And then a negative times a positive, that is a negative. Bad thing happening to a good guy is bad. So I ended up with negative 6 is greater than y. Now, again, reminder, when we multiply or divide by a negative, which is what we did here, that causes this inequality symbol to flip around. All right, so next step, we need to label our number line. So start with the number we got, which was -6. Then I'm going to count by 2, skipping every other dash, excuse me. So -5, -4, -3, -2. All right, moving this way, -7, -8, -9, -10. Then I need to pick a number to the left and a number to the right, plug them in, and see which one becomes true. So the number to the left of -6 I'm going to choose is -8, so plug that in for y. So -6 is greater than -8. Well, is that true? Is -6 greater than -8? Well, it is true because it's to the right here, so that makes that true, which means my arrow should be moving towards the left. But let's check a number on the right and see if it makes it true. So when I've got -6 is greater than, I'm going to choose a number to the right. I choose -4. So is -6 greater than -4? Well, no, it's not, because it's to the left of -4. So this is false, so that did hold up true. So, all right, well, here we go. Now we need to go back to -6, and we need to draw our circle. We need to look, is there any portion of an equals to sign in the inequality symbol? No, there's not, so it's not a filled-in circle. And then I need to draw my arrow towards the true side, which was the left side of the number line. So everything moving to the left made this inequality true. All right, well, if you feel up to it and you think you can do it, I'd encourage you to try example B on your own, then check your answer with mine. So as I look at example B, it says P over 4, which means P divided by 4 is less than 7. So when I go to find my variable, I find it here on the left side, and they are dividing it by 4. So much like before, create my to-do to undo list. They were dividing by, and it was a positive 4 this time, which means I need to do the inverse operation of division, which is multiplication, and I need to multiply by 4. So there is my step to solve. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to multiply this side by 4, and whatever I do to the left side, I also have to do to the right side, so I'm going to multiply this side by 4. Well, again, as we talked about before, when we multiply something by the same number it's being divided by, these 4's right here just really cause each other to cancel out, and I'm left with just the P on the left side. Right? And that is going to bring me to my inequality symbol. Now, what I need to decide is, does this inequality symbol reverse? Well, remember, it only reverses if we're multiplying or dividing by a negative number. This number 4 is positive, so it does not change the inequality symbol. So it's still going to say as a less than. And then 7 times 4 is 28. So I got P is less than 28. All right, well, now we need to go back to our number line and we need to label it. So start with the number we know, which is 28. I'm going to count by 2's, skipping every other dash, so 29, 30, 31, 32. And then I'm going to do the same to the left of 28, 27, 26, 25, 24. Now again, a reminder, number lines always have to get less going to the left and more going to the right. They cannot go the other direction. So make sure that you're labeling correctly. Well, after I've done that, I now need to pick a number to the left of 28, plug it in to see if it comes true, then a number to the right of 28 and see if it comes true. So I'm going to choose the number 26. I'm going to plug that in. So I've got 26 is less than 28. Well, is that true? Well, 26 is less than 28, so this is true, which should mean everything moving to the left is correct, but let's check a number to the right of 28. So I choose 30. 30 is less than 28. Is that true? No, that's not true. 30 is greater than 28, so that's false. So I know which way my arrow should go. So again, back to 28, draw my circle. Any portion of an equals to sign? No, there's not, so not a filled in circle. And then draw my arrow moving towards the true side, which was the left side. And again, make sure you put your arrow at the end. All right, well, one more example here, example C. So let's take a look at that. Let me move this piece of paper up. So example C looks a little bit different. So let's talk about it first before you try this one on your own. So example C says 1 is greater than or equal to -1/10 z. Well, what is this -1/10 doing to z? Well, it's actually multiplying it. But this can be kind of confusing on what we do and how we solve this and all of that. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is anytime you have a fraction multiplying your variable, is we're actually going to just move this variable to the top of the fraction, right? And that's completely legal because that means the exact same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this as 1 is greater than or equal to negative, and I'm going to put z to the top, which would make it 1z. All right? Well, 1z is really just the same as z, so I'm going to just put z over 10. All right? So I've got 1 is greater than or equal to -z over 10. I'm also going to then attach this negative here to the bottom with the 10. So I'm going to say that negative is a part of the 10. So if I wanted to rewrite this again, I would write it as, I'm going to move it over here to the side, 1 is greater than or equal to z over -10. And that's completely legal. That means the exact same thing as what you just saw initially, which was -1/10 times z. But now it looks much simpler, and it's a lot easier to follow what we need to do because it looks just like the problems that we've been solving. So from here, I would encourage you to try to solve this one on your own, then check your answer with mine. So as I've got 1 is greater than or equal to z divided by -10. So where's our variable? Well, it's here, it's z, and it's being divided by -10. So in my to-do to undo list, I've got they were dividing by -10. So to undo that, I need to multiply by -10. So there is my step to solve. Right? And I kind of ran myself in. I apologize. It's a little tight there. But my step to solve was to multiply by -10. So I'm going to multiply this side by -10, which means I also have to multiply the left side by -10. Now, when I do that, we know that when we divide and multiply something by the same number, they just cancel out, and I'm left with just the z, so I'm going to bring that down. Then I need to look at my inequality symbol. Well, remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, it causes the inequality symbol to reverse. So instead of greater than or equal to, it becomes less than or equal to, right? And then I've got 1 times -10, which is -10. So -10 is less than or equal to z is my final simplified inequality. All right, well now I need to come back to my number line. I need to number it. So starting with -10 here in the middle, then I'm going to count by 2, skipping every other dash. So -9, -8, -7, -6, and then I'm going to do the same over here. -11, -12, -13, -14. All right, and then again, choose a number to the left and choose a number to the right. So to the left of -10 was -12. I'm going to plug that in for z. So I've got -10, which is less than or equal to -12. Well, is that true? Well, -10 is not equal to -12, and it's also not less than -12. It's greater than. So this is false. So that should mean my arrow is moving to the right, but let's check a number to the right of -10, and I choose -8. So let's plug that in. So -10 is less than or equal to -8. Well, is -10 equal to -8? No, it's not, but it is less than -8, so that is true. All right, well now we need to come back to -10, and we need to draw our circle. So -10 right here, draw our circle. Right? Is there any portion of an equals to sign? Yes, there is. So that means this is filled in. And then last part, draw our arrow moving towards the true side, which was the right side of the number line. And an arrow at the end. So final answer is -10 is less than or equal to z. and this would be how we graph it. All right, well, if you have any additional questions, please let me know. I know these ones can look a little confusing. Just remember, move the variable to the top. If there's a 1 up there, you can get rid of that. And if there's a negative involved, attach it to the number on the bottom. That's the big things with those. But otherwise, anytime they're dividing, we're going to multiply. And then if they are dividing by a negative number, that causes us, when we multiply by a negative number, to flip the inequality symbol. All right, well, if you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, you have what you need to continue on in the chapter.